4-pounder sitting right here. Don't try nothing funny.
Spike Lee's Highest to Lowest arrives as both of a continuation of his long career and a reimagining of Akira Kurosawa's High and Low. Itself is drawn from Ed McBain's novel King's Ransom. The film shifts the setting to present-day New York, where Lee has always rooted his most ambitious work, and places Denzel Washington at its center as David King, a music mogul facing pressures that are both personal and professional. The surface story plays like a crime drama. A powerful man, a sudden crisis, and a demand that forces difficult choices. But Spike Lee never allows the narrative to remain only at that level. The plot is a framework for questions of morality, class, and cultural survival. What does it mean to be responsible for others when privilege and power isolate you? How do wealth and status intersect with obligation? And more specifically, what happens when art itself becomes the battleground for generational conflict? The character of David King embodies those questions. He is wealthy, commanding, and deeply tied to the legacy of Black music. Yet the very industry he helped build is shifting under his feet. The rise of disposable culture, the intrusion of AI-driven production, and the generational hunger of younger artists around him. His dilemma is not only about money and power, but also about how he will be remembered and whether his values still matter in a world moving at a faster, less disciplined pace. And Spike Lee places King's moral crisis against the backdrop of class division. Kurosawa's original film examined the chasm between rich and poor in the post-war Japan, and Lee translates the divide into 21st century American context, where the gap is not only economic, but also cultural. Established voices guard their legacies, while younger ones demand recognition, sometimes through respect and talent, and others through spectacle and shortcuts. The title, Highest to Lowest, reflects both the financial disparity and the cultural descent from enduring art to disposable fame. The film's middle section builds on this contrast, and Lee uses New York itself as a stage for the divide. The Puerto Rican Day Parade sequence, for example, is not only visually dynamic, but also thematically loaded. Community, tradition, and music are presented as an enduring forms of cultural expression, contrasted with the fleeting noise of disposable trends. Lee has always celebrated New York's diversity, and here it becomes a reminder that true art is rooted in community rather than spectacle. Washington gives a commanding performance, and at 70 he projects authority and charisma, but also carries a sense of weariness. His portrayal of King is less about power than about the burden of it, and how to hold on, how to remain respected, and how to protect the legacy in the face of relentless change. There are moments when his stillness says more than dialogue could. He embodies a man who has everything, yet risks losing the one thing that defines him: integrity. The supporting cast adds texture. A$AP Rocky appears as young felon, a younger artist whose ambition reflects impatience and entitlement. His character channels the superficial side of modern culture, obsession with recognition without the foundation of true artistry. By contrast, other figures in the story embody patience, respect, and hard work, showing that not all of the younger generation rejects discipline. These juxtapositions elevate the films beyond the crime narrative and the meditation of what separates superficial talent from true talent. Lee's filmmaking style is unmistakable. Bold visuals, direct cultural references, and stylistic flourishes. That floating camera movements and rhythmic editing keep the energy alive even when the themes become heavy. His affection for New York radiates through every frame. The city is not just a backdrop, it is a character pulsing with life, contradiction, and artistic history. Philosophically, the film circles around responsibility. How far should one go for others? What does loyalty mean in a culture where self-interest dominates? And perhaps the most poignantly, what does it mean to be an artist in an era where attention is often valued more than craft? The story insists that authentic art requires respect, patience, and discipline, even when shortcuts tempt or demand recognition. Highest to Lowest also raises the question about legacy. And Spike Lee himself, now in his late 60s, and Washington at 70, seem acutely aware that the story doubles as a reflection of their own careers. The film asks whether experience and tradition still hold value in a world increasingly driven by speed, novelty, and disposability. It becomes a dialogue between generations, not just within the story, but between filmmakers and their audience. On a technical level, the film is immersive. The sound design leans heavily on music, blending hip-hop, jazz, funk, and the live performance. This creates a sense of history colliding with the present. The cinematography captures both the sleek wealth of King's world and the raw energy of New York streets, reinforcing the high-low divide in every frame. There is one frustration that comes not from the film itself, but from the release strategy. Apple's decision to restrict the theatrical run to art house venues undercuts the scale of the work. This is a movie designed for a large screen and a powerful sound system. Its impact is diminished when confined to streaming. Even though streaming will eventually bring it to a broader audience, the theatrical experience, however, is where the film truly breathes. By the end, what remains is not just a crime story or a social critique, but a meditation on art, culture, and the choices that define our character. Lee respects Kurosawa's framework, but uses it to speak to his present anxieties, generational divides, cultural erosion, and the fragile line between legacy and irreverence. For me, Highest to Lowest belongs amongst Spike Lee's layered works. It is ambitious, at times messy, but rich in meaning. It reflects a filmmaker still deeply engaged with questions of justice, art, and community. It also showcases Denzel Washington at a stage in his career where gravitas feels effortless, yet never hollow. And together, they deliver a film that challenges, provokes, and resonates long after it ends. In a year of sequels and formula, Highest to Lowest feels rare. A reinterpretation of a classic that speaks not just to its source, but to the anxieties of now. Continue this journey at realpete.com. I appreciate you going on this film journey with me, and always be real.
Where's my money? I got the 4-pounder sitting right here. Don't try nothing funny.